Chapter 30 Nothing Like a Toy. Oh no. Cheyenne flashed back to a hard voice demanding all her phone numbers. Griffin's dad had smelled like that. Rory hadn't needed to change his appearance. He just changed his voice, pitching it lower. But what he couldn't change was his smell. Cheyenne knew Roy was going to drive her to her death, shoot her here, and he might attract attention. Plus, he would be left with a bloody mess in his car. He must be planning to drive her to the house, all the while chattering about what they should do back at the station. She remembered the cell phone he had been using. Maybe she could snatch it and call 911. Maybe if she was really lucky, he wouldn't notice that she had it and she could hold it behind her back while she pressed the numbers. She might even buy a second or two before he heard the voice of the operator or noticed what she was doing. It was hopeless. But what else could she do? If she got out and ran, he would tackle her in a moment and drag her back. Give up on all pretense. The engine started up. Cheyenne swept her left hand over the seat between them. Her fingers closed over what they found. Only it wasn't a phone. It was a gun. Hey! Roy sounded surprised. Too surprised to keep using his phony voice. Cheyenne transferred the gun to her right hand. It wasn't very big, but it felt heavy and real and nothing like a toy. Did it have a safety? You make one move and I'll shoot you. She had wanted to make her voice full of authority, unwavering. Instead, it came out high-pitched and shaking. Roy's only answer was a laugh. Something streaked across the small slice of vision Cheyenne still had left. Roy's hand trying to grab the gun from her. Her finger tightened on the trigger just as his hand closed around her fist. The sound of the gun firing was so loud that it sucked all other sounds after it. And then the silence was broken by Roy's scream. You shot me! He sounded more affronted than injured. How badly was he hurt? Bad enough that he would die? Or not bad enough to keep him from hurting her? Cheyenne realized she was still holding the gun. Get out! She screamed. What? Get out of the car or I'll shoot you again. She pressed the gun forward until it touched flesh, wet flesh. Okay. She heard the door open and Roy scramble out, an oof as he fell onto the road. Still holding the gun, Cheyenne leaned forward, found the door handle, and yanked it closed. A second later, she snapped on the lock just before Roy grabbed the handle from the outside. Now that the gun barrel was no longer dimpling his flesh, he was obviously rethinking having left the car, and he wanted back in. The other door. Cheyenne leaned to her right, found the lock just in time. His hand was sticky. It must be blood. The passenger door rattled. Let me in, Cheyenne. No. Come on. I'm hurt. I need to get to a doctor. Let me in and I'll drive us to a hospital and let you go. Where had she shot him? Cheyenne didn't know. His arm? His belly? His chest? It seemed quite possible that Roy was telling the truth. Maybe he did need to get to a hospital. Cheyenne, I'm going to bleed to death. Please, for the love of God. Slowly, she raised her hand. He must have come back to the other side of the car because suddenly the driver's door began to jiggle, making her jump. Let me in, Cheyenne. His voice was louder and angrier now. Let me in or you'll be sorry. Or maybe she had just nicked him. A sudden loud bang right next to her car made her scream. It happened again. Roy was, Cheyenne realized, hammering the window with a rock. A big rock. The third time he did it, the thump sounded more muffled. It was followed by a curse and the sound of the rock falling to the ground. He had smashed his own finger instead of the window. Good. Cheyenne pressed the tip of the gun up against the glass near where she thought Roy was. She pressed hard to try to keep her hand from shaking. Stop doing that or I'll shoot you again. Really? Roy laughed. I don't think so. You'll miss me by a mile. Or maybe the bullet will ricochet and hit you. So go ahead. And then he smashed the rock down again